Well, hey everybody, welcome to Marketing Pains episode number 12. My name's Will Hinkey. I'm excited to have you today on here. We are triple dipping with this time. We are doing a live webinar. We're also broadcasting it live on Facebook, and also obviously this is a podcast episode as well. So no matter how you're listening to us, we definitely do appreciate the opportunity to bring some information, some content to you. And I'm excited about today's guest, Steve Turner, who I've known for quite a long time. He is a PR, public relations genius. If I could only say it, that would help.
Wouldn't go that far, but
but Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to the audience a little bit about PR and how it works and how it can help them make their sales goals for 2021.
Yeah, I think PR is a huge piece of a smart marketing plan. And I mean, we use your services for our own business as well, just because we see the advantage of it out there. So why don't you start off by giving me kind of the 2-minute elevator pitch about your business and what you do?
Yeah, so we put together basically publicity campaigns for companies of all sizes. They can be very small, just 2 or 3 people, all the way up to major corporations. We've worked with all kinds of folks, from Anthony Robbins to Brian Tracy to Coldwell Banker, just kind of a mixed bag of hospitals, retailers, authors, service providers. So we're very skilled in that area. Been in business for over 30 years. In fact, we just celebrated our 30th anniversary this year.
Oh,
and we've worked on national campaigns, local campaigns, regional campaigns. We do a lot of writing and content, and our goal is to enhance the brand of any company of any size. And we think we have a nice expertise in that area, and love to work with people one-on-one and really help them build their companies.
Love it. How long have you guys been in business? 30 years now.
Yeah, this is our 30th year, and amazingly so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I was even before the internet, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my partner had a advertising agency back in the day, and I had my own little PR firm, and then we merged to become Solomon Turner about 30 years ago, and have been going ever since.
Okay. So what got you into PR? You had your own firm prior to the merge. What kind of got you moving in that direction in the first place?
Yes, I was in the news business, basically radio news for a long time, and then kind of morphed into advertising and broadcasting in a different vein, more into management, and then kind of got back into the advertising PR mode. And I always liked the big idea of doing things for companies that could involve a multitude of facets of advertising and marketing, as opposed to just, hey, buy advertising on our radio station will be great. So maybe they needed a billboard, maybe they needed ads in the newspaper, maybe they needed articles in the newspaper. So kind of migrated in that direction, and the opportunity kind of presented itself to try something on my own back in, well, who knows what year that was now.
We won't say
but it seemed to work, and just been doing it ever since, and having fun every day, still doing it.
Okay, so your business is called Solomon Turner PR.
Correct.
Right? Okay. What makes your business different from others? Kind of what is your unique selling proposition, if you had one?
Yeah, I think we're unique in that we can work with businesses of any size. We're affordable. We don't charge an enormous amount of money to accomplish their goals. And I think we're on target for most companies. We have experience. Obviously, we've been talking about that, and we work with about every kind of company out there, from retailers to service businesses. So we know the lay of the land. We have a big Rolodex of media contacts to help people get into the right publications. And if we don't have the right one for them, we can find it quickly. And so we combine all these skills, and we've adapted over time to get into more digital PR opportunities, do different things like that with the internet. So people get the full gamut now. It's not just articles in the newspaper or maybe an interview on TV, but it's also digital. What can we do online to help them promote their business, whether it be helping them with YouTube videos or online press releases, online news magazines. There's just a multitude of different things out there now with all this digital media, and we can help them find the right opportunity for them and help them identify the targeted audience. And I think that's kind of our strength. We can move fast and get results pretty quickly.
But you guys also customize every approach from what, at least from my experience, you kind of customize the approach to, depending on what their ultimate goal is, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we don't have like a templated format for every client.
Yeah.
We sit down and we like to identify what are your goals, what are your objectives, how is your business different than anybody else's, and then together a customized plan from there. So it's specifically for you and what you hope to accomplish and what are your strengths and weaknesses and how can we overcome them, and then get that all together into a nice package and we start rolling. And we're not stuck in stone as far as the process. If something works great, we'll keep enlarging that. If something isn't working too, we can eliminate it and say, well, that was a good idea, but it's just not right for you. It may be good for somebody else. So we'll just get rid of it and move on to something else. Some people have found that a lot of things that we can get leveraged and put on LinkedIn is terrific for them. For other companies, it doesn't work as well. Facebook groups may work great for one client and may not work good for somebody else. Same things with Twitter. It may work for somebody, it may not work for somebody else. So you kind of have to do a little trial and error, but over time you figure it out and figure out what works best for each client, and then put together a good roadmap for them that's going to get them the results they want.
Yeah, that's interesting because from our listeners' standpoint, we've got mostly window treatment and awning company owners. But even inside that group, they could be, we've got clients that are commercial only, so B2B only, which would probably lean towards a LinkedIn kind of approach versus somebody who's business to consumer, where they're wanting to get just more residential leads. It'll probably be a little bit different approach, maybe something more along the lines of Facebook or even TV news type articles, I guess.
Yeah, it runs the gamut. Just depends on who the targeted audience is. And like you said, B2B is perfect for LinkedIn. And there's also LinkedIn groups for that as well, which is a good vehicle. But yeah, I mean, there are trade journals for B2B companies. Maybe your local business journal is a great place for that. Obviously the daily newspaper, but there also may be national trades where you can get an article in there and that'll cycle well with your clientele.
Yeah.
And also you can leverage those articles. You can pull them out, make copies, use them for an email campaign, post them on your own LinkedIn and Facebook pages. So there's a lot of ways to utilize all that great content.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's talk a little bit more about PR in specific. How is PR different than advertising?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people just kind of group that into one hat and say, well, our advertising is taken care of, or we're doing this and that. But PR is totally different than advertising in its approach and the results you get. Advertising is more of control. So as a business owner, you have control of the message, the medium you want to run it in, whether it's radio, TV, or newspaper. You pick the day, the time, you create the ad, you create the message, and then it appears in the newspaper, on TV. With public relations, we formulate stories, and you have no control over when the newspaper might run the article. I mean, it could be today, it could be a month from now. It just depends on their editorial calendar and what they think. And you may also be part of a story. So you may be quoted, but you may not be the only person quoted. So it just depends on the editor and how he approaches your story. And you really don't have a lot of, you have the control of giving them the information about your company, but at the end of the day, you don't have final control. The editor does, and they pick and choose whether or not they're going to use your story, how they're going to use it, and how much of it they're going to use. So it's up to the PR firm to kind of figure out the best approach with each newspaper, each publication, each TV station, what they're covering and what makes the best fit on that day, and then follow through and execute it. And in most cases, you'll get something nice out of it, whether it's a full page article or a good part of the article. And that's kind of our expertise, is helping put that together for the client and making sure it's going to work. But the big difference is control. Again, with advertising, you have full control because you pay for what you can afford. You pick the day and the ad and so forth. Editorial is a little different. You're kind of in the hands of the editor of the newspaper to make those decisions for you.
Got it. Got it. Okay. How can small businesses gain coverage? We always see kind of the big businesses getting the interviews and all that kind of stuff. How can a small business still use that to their advantage?
Yeah, so there's always good opportunity for any size company. Some easy stuff is a new hire. If you hire somebody for your business, there's a local business journal or the local paper that'll run that for free usually, or for a small fee. There's trade journals that'll run that as well. You can create digital news releases and put that out there on a bunch of sites who will pick it up, and then you can leverage that for your LinkedIn and social media. You can do a special event or a charity cause. A lot of even small businesses will do those, and then it will result in something great that happens. You help a family, you collect $2,000 for a charity, whatever that is. You can get a good story, and the TV stations love to cover that kind of stuff. You can do a personality profile. Most people have an interesting background, especially business owners and entrepreneurs. And so there's usually something interesting that the media will find fun, whether the person is a marathoner on the weekends, or, they do different kinds of skill sets that have nothing to do with their business, but they're just a real interesting personality to profile. And there are a lot of local publications that'll have a space for that. In St. Louis, the St. Louis Business Journal has a character feature every week. And so they always like to spotlight not just on what the business person does, but what they do on the weekends and their extracurricular activities. And those are always fun to promote. So those are all good. If there's topics out there that are timely, don't be afraid to contact the media and say, hey, people are talking about what to wear on a video call. So if you're in the clothing business or somebody in IT or something like that, that's a good opportunity to connect with the media and say, hey, everybody's talking about these Zoom calls. What should we wear? What dress is appropriate? Well, if you're in the clothing business, you can put together a little list and contact all the TV stations. And I think that would be a good story. Maybe the same thing with a print story for that. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. It need not be too complicated, but could be well received by the audience. Any trends, any surveys that you do for your business, the newspapers always love statistics. And if you can say, well, during COVID-19, we found that 100 of our customers said they were going to spend more money on home improvement, that's a big deal. I mean, and if you can kind of outline that and how that works into the awning and window treatment business, that could be a really good article in a local newspaper.
Makes sense. You've done some PR for some of our clients, a window treatment company that was celebrating a 50th anniversary too.
Yeah, those are all good. Any kind of event, if you open a new location, that's a great one. Change offices is a place for that in the newspapers. Anniversaries, birthdays. Sometimes if it's a family-owned business and you go into a next generation, there's a lot of places to get that published. Family business awards. One thing that's interesting are the awards. We're fortunate in St. Louis to have Small Business Monthly, which does a lot of awards every month. There's some kind of category where there's an award for best in customer service or fastest growing company. And there are publications like that that are open to articles for you to pursue awards, and if you get them, to promote the award. Yeah. So that's a great vehicle. If you can win an award, a national award especially, you don't have to be number one in your category, but even if you're in the top 5 or voted top 10 in the industry, I think those are great. And you can make great news releases out of that if it's a national award. the local paper will think it's a big deal. And so they'll run some kind of an article about that. So any kind of award, anniversary, new location, things like that are great for media to get some notice and some brand recognition.
I think PR and SEO, digital marketing work well together. There are a lot of opportunities for businesses to get links from other websites too as part of that, right? So I mean, it works well from both angles.
Yeah, absolutely. So you take an article, let's say, in your local newspaper, and they promote it, and hopefully they'll promote it on Twitter and some other things and tag you, maybe Facebook. And you can do the same. You can go back and tag the writer, you can tag the publication with your own Facebook and really get some leverage out of it. Do some things on LinkedIn, maybe even send it out as part of your company email. Say, hey, we were just featured in our daily newspaper. Check it out. Well, that really is like a home run credibility wise for your company, because it's not you saying we're great, it's the local newspaper saying you're great.
Right.
So that's a great sales tool. And you can just pound that all over the place, all over social media and everything. And that will increase your SEO. You know that better than I. But Google and these search engines are always looking for high quality content. In daily newspapers always reigns supreme over things that are just posted online. So if you can come up with quality content like that in major newspapers, they're going to love you, and that will increase your SEO, give you legs, and let you link back and forth to the publication and do different things on your social media.
What about business owners that just kind of got their head down and they're just working and they're just pushing forward, and maybe they don't have any dramatic news to share? How can they still use PR to their advantage?
Yeah, well, there's always something going on. And if you can come up with a topic, we can, or a PR firm can write some news releases just on that topic. One of our clients just did something in relation to Pearl Harbor Day with a special message because they're in the home healthcare business for seniors and veterans.
Okay.
So their market is veterans. So it was a perfect fit, and it really wasn't like breaking news, but they had a really good message. They wanted to get out there about this VA benefit. And so we put together some news releases on that and got that out in about 8 or 10 places. So that's really a cool thing. And, it wasn't hard news per se, but it is a great thing to get out there, and it shows you care. So you don't have to necessarily have the greatest news in the world to get some publicity and to build your brand. But I think stuff like that is really good. And a good PR firm can help you formulate those kinds of things. Writing articles is another thing. Come up with an industry topic, let your PR firm kind of wax poetic and come up with a 500-word article or a 1,000-word article, even if there's that much to talk about, and send it back to the business owner, let them tweak it and look at it and maybe change a few paragraphs or a word or two, and then you've got something. And then you can get that spread out all over the place and use that for a lot of great content, whether it's an email blast on your website, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of thing. So there's lots of opportunity. You don't have to come up with a cure for COVID-19 every month to get something out there. But, even if you've got your head down, like you say, there's always something going on in your company, especially if you've been around a while and you have a lot of employees. It's always somebody's getting an award, even if it's a company award. You're adding new product. That's always good to do a news release. We just added this new product. We're offering this new wood product. So write something about that and get that out there. We just, even if, we're expanding, we just signed a lease for another 5,000 or 10,000 square feet. That's a good thing to get out there. All kinds of stuff. If you think about it, there's plenty to write about and talk about. It's just kind of focusing on that area and maybe working with somebody to sit down and put together a plan and kind of talk to you and come up with ideas that will really be a good fit for where you want to go with your company.
Okay. Okay. For window treatment and awning companies, are there specific mediums that are best?
Well, obviously you're in a visual business. So people really need to see your products and your finished work. So I would say any print publication where you can get photos in of your work would be great. If there's a design magazine in your local market that will take some articles and photos, those are awesome. Weekly magazines, anything visual. In some cases, television would be good, where they can bring out a crew, or you can supply photos during an interview. We've done that before, where you can show them on TV what you're capable of doing. That is a really strong sales point. So you need to show your work. And I mean, there's nothing wrong, obviously, with a radio interview or audio type things. But for somebody that's in a visual business where people actually have to see it, I think those are great. Any type of medium that lets you show photos or videos are great. YouTube would be terrific if you could do like a before and after, even a time span in quick motion of you starting with an ugly window or bad drapes or shades or something, and then show them the design afterwards when you're done, how beautiful it is. I think that has a lot of meat, and you can get a lot of use out of that on YouTube and your website and places where you can do video. But I think graphics are huge for an industry like this because you need to show your products and your design capability. It's hard to do that unless you can actually show photos and videos.
Yeah, I like the video idea. That's great. You can get a GoPro knockoff, on Amazon now for $60 with everything you need. And they have time lapse settings on them. Set that up before you start. Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I've seen that done before for other industries. Usually in construction, they do that because, they show the empty ground and then this magnificent building when they're done. But I would definitely do that as an interior designer or window company. You can do that kind of work, and obviously it's not going to take months. It may take a day or two, but to show the before and after is really a strong selling point.
I love it. So you've kind of touched on a lot of this already, but I'm curious about the PR and social media side of things. I know that you can kind of blast things out. How does PR and social media work together best?
Yeah, I think it's creating the message, and then two ways. One is you want to use social media to leverage your media coverage. A lot of people will say, yeah, I got an article in the paper, and a few friends and some people commented and blah blah blah. So that was pretty neat. And then it's like, well, that's it. I said, no, it's not it. Let's really capitalize on that. Okay, so let's get that out there. Let's link to it on Facebook. Let's link to it on LinkedIn if you're, especially if, as you said, you're in business to business. Let's try Instagram. If there's a way to do that. Maybe Twitter. So there's different ways to do that. Maybe there's groups on Facebook that are into either design or home improvement or construction or things like that you can kind of get stuff on. So there's a varied ways to do that. So that's one aspect of it. The other is just doing it for that specific medium that's on social media. So let's think about YouTube. Let's just do a video for YouTube and maybe take that, and then we can, blast that out to everybody. You can do Twitter, just do kind of a Twitter campaign where maybe each day you're putting something out there a little bit different about design. Facebook as well, you're showing your work graphically on Facebook. And, if you get an article along the way, great. If not, you could still take pictures of your client work and put that out there, as different homeowners or commercial companies get new window treatments, you can definitely put those out there. Instagram too, very visual medium, so Instagram is all photos and short videos. So you want to do that there. So those are all good opportunities for you. The idea is to get more clicks on your website so you can get more business. And social media can definitely drive that there. It's just, using the right formats and the right materials on each site that are going to get people excited.
I like it. I'm just thinking in my head, awning companies, if they do refacing even another business that's fairly popular in that particular town, it would be worth them doing a press release about that business getting new awnings and stuff, and of course mention their own business in the meantime. But I can see how you can kind of switch it around too, and offer it as a service, an additional service for your clients.
Yeah, exactly. That would be great. And the other thing is maybe the client did a big remodel of their commercial company or whatever, and maybe they have new awnings, and so maybe they'll give you a plug and say, well,
Yeah,
let's do a joint press release or something, and we'll work together, and you blast it out to your clientele and your social media, and we'll do it to ours. So you both get credit and you both play off each other, which I think is great. And so ABC Bank gets new awnings from XYZ Awning Company in
right.
Phoenix. So, you get that out there, and people, oh, yeah, oh, they did that building. Yeah, that's really cool. So there's a lot you can do with that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to say about leverage, like you said. Just hiring a PR firm to write a press release, and that's all they do. That's a poor waste of your money, right? And it's just a linear thing. But in reality, there are a lot of things you can do with that one piece of content or whatever, piece of news, in multiple ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't just think of it as, writing press releases. And, some people do. I mean, we've
Yeah,
spoken to some, well, we've got somebody doing press releases for us. Well, that's not what it's all about.
right.
You could hire a college kid almost with, that's had a couple years of classes to do something like that. But what you want to do is put together a campaign where you're actually going to get results. And, it'll really pay for itself in the long run. I mean, we had one client that we worked with in the woodworking business, from one of the articles, had a phone call and they got business from it, and then more repeat business. And they said, yeah, it's been over $1 million in revenue from that
Wow.
one client that saw the article. So, I mean, not everybody's going to get that, but that's tremendous return on investment. And
Yeah.
so, the PR firm pays for itself for 100 years,
Yeah.
basically. So, things like that can happen, and they should happen, maybe not to that degree, but you should be able to get business. You should be able to track the difference in your web activity from all these different activities that you're doing PR wise to get the word out. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it, but it is, as you say, it's a lot more than just writing press releases.
Right.
It's kind of like, what are my goals and objectives? What am I trying to do with my business this year? Okay, we want to raise sales by 20%. Well, how is PR going to fit into that? If more people know about your brand, what kind of return can you expect? And how are we going to help get to that extra 20% you don't have right now? So we can sit down, or a good PR firm can sit down and have a good conversation about that with somebody, and then kind of figure out if it's a good fit. And if it is, what are the tactics and strategies that are going to go into that campaign to help them get to the next level?
Okay. So what does an average PR firm cost?
So it can vary. I would expect to pay a good PR firm, if you were doing an hourly arrangements, anywhere from $100 on the low end to $300 on the high end per hour. Most PR firms will work on a retainer basis, so you could be paying anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 or $3,000 a month. It just depends on the scope of the campaign, the size of the business, and what your goals and objectives are. Some people need 24/7 attention. It's a big company, they have a lot going on. So their fee structure is going to be higher than a 2 or 3 person owned company
Right.
that needs exposure, but not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the fees are going to be lower. Um, Conversely, if it's a very small company and they like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really tough to come up with a budget, there are freelancers out there that might be able to help them out that have some experience. They might charge a lower hourly rate, but it just depends. If they're real busy, they may not be able to charge a low rate. Some of those folks as well charge $100 to $200 an hour. So it just depends. But a good PR, they don't need one of the things is you don't need the biggest PR firm in town. If you're a small company, you need a PR firm that's probably the size of your business or approximate size. So the fee structure is going to be very good for what you can afford. A lot of these small companies, they think they need the biggest and the best. And so they go out and they talk to these PR firms that have 20 or 100 employees. Well, the fees to cover all that overhead are going to be out of sight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the results probably won't be too much different at the end of the day. I mean, there'll be a lot more bells and whistles and different things going on, but at the end of the day, the results are probably going to be pretty close. So for all that extra money you spend. So I would look for small firms. You can check lists like in St. Louis, we have the Small Business Monthly list of top PR firms that they do every year. You can look through those, go on their websites and see, who their clients are and what their capabilities are. Things like that. There's lists. There's clutch.co, which is a good place to look. Expertise. I think they're in every major city now, and you can look there. They have a list of the top PR firms. So it's just taking a little time and kind of seeing what a good fit is. And then when you start interviewing, maybe one person that comes highly recommended, you could ask your friends and colleagues, who you ever used a PR firm, who do you recommend? Oh yeah, this person's great, or this company's awesome, and they're small and they're real flexible and they're not stuck in one way of doing business. Those are always good to get referrals from friends and business colleagues. And then it's all about chemistry. You want to make sure that you and the firm you hire are on the same page. So they may look great on paper, but when you start talking to them, they're thinking one way and you're thinking another, and that doesn't help in the long term. So you want to make sure that your heads are kind of aligned in the same way, and that you kind of are thinking along the same route. So the chemistry is a lot better, and you're better able to work together for the long term as opposed to just a short term and say, well, this guy really doesn't get what we're doing. You really want to have somebody that maybe has experience in your business, understands your lingo, and then can communicate with you in a good way in a one-to-one fashion.
Yeah, that's good. So if, let's say there's a business owner that's maybe, considering 2 or 3 PR firms, what is a good, so we always have the frequently asked questions, right? But what is a good should ask question? What is something that they should ask that would kind of give them insight to a good PR firm?
Well, I would say, what kind of experience have you had in my category, and what kind of results did you get? Those are always good questions. So if somebody says, well, we really haven't worked with anybody in your industry, okay, well, maybe nobody has that you're talking to. But if one has and is proven to get results and nobody else has, well, that's great, because they already understand your corporate lingo, your business lingo. So that won't be a shock. You don't have to spend money to educate them on that. Plus, though, you should have some good media contacts, a Rolodex, electronically, hopefully, of different folks that they can contact that they already know that cover your industry or your type of business. So that really smooths the process and saves a lot of time. And again, that's not money you have to spend educating the PR firm. They can hit the ground running and just get rolling. And so the results will come a lot faster and quicker than if it's somebody that knows nothing about your industry and has to totally educate themselves about awnings or window treatments, things like that, and then do a lot of research and then figure out who the media contacts are and so forth. That will just take a lot more time for them to get up to speed.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons that we niched down from being a generalist digital marketing agency to window treatment marketing pros is because we knew the industry and we've, created those results, just like you said. And it makes it easier for people to do business with us that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, once you've worked with one or two, you kind of get the feel for the companies, the businesses, the industry itself. What are the trends? What are people talking about? And so you can offer that to others. So the PR firm, in the same vein, should be able to know all that stuff and then talk to prospective clients the same way and say, hey, well, this is kind of what we're seeing in your industry, or these are the hot topics when we work with XYZ. They were focused on this. There's some good value here that you should do as well. And we can make this work for you. And we can call different people on your behalf and get some stuff done. As opposed to people that know nothing about the industry and you're just starting from ground zero.
Right. So I guess it does depend on medium, but how long does it usually take before a company starts seeing results?
Usually pretty fast. Again, it depends on the PR firm, how good they are and what they know about your industry. But within 30 days, you should be able to start seeing some action, getting some press out there, getting press releases done, making some connections with the media, maybe getting an article or two done, and getting it rolling. And you should be seeing some increase in web activity on your website. So when the PR firm starts rolling and starts generating some of these things, and you work hand in hand with them with your Facebook and your LinkedIn and your Twitters and your social media, you should start getting some action online. So those are good things to see, because if you normally get 5 web hits a week and all of a sudden you're getting 20, 30, 40, things are moving in the right direction and you're going to get business from that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're just an average salesperson, you don't have to be great. But if you get that kind of web activity and people asking you questions, I mean, you're going to get some business. There's no doubt about it.
We'll see that reflected in some SEO reports too. If you see a business that was kind of just trending, even trending upward on Google exposure, something like that, and all of a sudden there's this big spike, it's almost always because they did some PR, and it's visual. You can tangible results you can see. So how does a company measure success of a campaign?
Yeah, so we can do two things, or PR firms can do a measurement a couple different ways. One is web hits, getting back to that, to see the number of activity measured against where the campaign was before you started as to where it is now. That's always a good thing. Number of articles is something that you can look at and see, well, wow, we got 5 things from this trends piece we did, where before we didn't have anything. So all of a sudden we're generating some media coverage. Something we call share of voice, which is how's your company doing as opposed to the competition. With a PR firm, if you're getting a lot of things out there, your share of voice is going to go way up. And maybe there's an article about your company in your awning business, and maybe they're doing a piece about the awning business, but you're the only one mentioned, or you're one of 2 mentioned. That's pretty good, especially if there's 10 or 20 in your city doing exactly the same thing that you do. So that's a huge deal. Obviously, sales at the end of the day are important. You may get some of that direct. Oh, yeah, we saw that article. We want you guys to bid on this project. Looks great. And that's happened a lot. Or, all of a sudden you're getting invited in on RFPs and different kinds of proposals that you didn't have before. And, that starts going up. So those are all benefits of the PR campaign, as well as just general awareness and buzz about your company. People start talking to them and say, hey, I'm with XYZ Awning. Oh, yeah, I just saw that article in the paper about you guys.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden people know who you are, as opposed to, oh, really? Yeah, I don't think I've heard about you guys before.
Right. I like share of voice, and I think share of voice can lead to more share of voice, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
So the more well-known you become, the more well-known you will become. So it's kind of like, well, we got this. A lot of times you'll hear about a company that got a story on a local TV station, and then it gets picked up by CNN or MSNBC or somebody. And that's terrific. You get that national coverage from one local outlet, and that can happen. We've done that before. So yeah, you're right. So the more share of voice, and people will ask others, well, think of an awning company. Oh, I just saw an article about XYZ in the paper. Why don't you call them? And then they call them, and it starts the conversation, and they like it. You do business with them, and then they'll tell their friends, and pretty soon it gets out there, and you get more excitement, more name recognition. The media even gets to know you a little bit over time, and so they'll call you when something comes up. Hey, I really need some quotes on this, or there's some big remodeling project, and I know there'll be some awning business. Can you talk to us about that? What's involved with this big redevelopment project downtown?
Yeah.
So a lot of times the media will call you for cases like that, but it takes time, and you have to get the right kind of name recognition and notoriety to get that kind of stuff done.
I love it. That's great. Steve, how can people find more about Solomon Turner?
So hopefully we can find us. We're in the wrong business, but no, we're out there. We're on, obviously we have a website, solomonturner.com, SOLOMONTURNER.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find us in all these good places. We write a lot of articles. So if you just Google search Solomon Turner PR and Steve Turner PR, you should be able to find us. We love working with Will and his company, and Will's done a great job of getting us out there. So we're out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, we should be found. I mean, you can always email me, sturner@solomonturner.com. You can call 314-205-0800. Go to our website, look around. We have some stuff we've done and different clients we've worked with, articles to read, even videos that we've put together. So you should be able to get the full package by visiting our website.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time today. You've given us some fantastic insight into PR and given me some ideas, quite honestly.
Oh, good. Yeah, thanks a lot. I really enjoyed it. And again, if anybody has any questions, just look us up. I'd be glad to talk to you at no charge. And we can help you in any way. Be glad to do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Steve. I do appreciate it. If you are listening to this podcast, watching us live on Facebook right now, and want to follow up with Steve, feel free to do so. He's a fantastic guy. I've known him a long time. So appreciate it. Thank you again for listening today. Thank you, Steve, for your time. And everybody have a fantastic rest of your day.